Every game needs its player. But what if player 456 never won? The arena didn't stop. The rules stayed the same. The stakes stayed deadly, and lives were claimed. The outcome became colder, more precise, and far more terrifying than anyone imagined. The immediate consequences of Gi-Hun's loss. Gi-Hun reaches the final game and fails. A single misstep, a pause too long, and victory slips through his fingers. The game does not pause. The organizers do not hesitate. The rules do not bend for a single player, no matter how human he seems. For the players, everything changes immediately. The alliances he had relied on begin to fracture. Minor players, previously shielded by Gi-Hun's interventions or presence, now face immediate danger. Decisions that once carried small margins of error now leave no room for hesitation. Trust is no longer instinctive. It is calculated, conditional, temporary. Every glance, every word, every gesture carries the weight of life or death. Gi-Hun himself feels the full weight of failure. His journey had carried him to the edge, and yet that edge proves insufficient. Physical survival becomes meaningless without the victory he sought. Regret, fear, and frustration press in relentlessly. He knows that his loss will reshape the behavior of everyone remaining in the game. He has lost not only the prize but the subtle control he once held over the social balance within the arena. Every move he made to protect, reassure, or mediate now serves no purpose. The game itself does not slow down. Squid Game is a machine, indifferent and efficient. One player's loss does not disrupt its rhythm. It confirms it. The remaining participants adapt, but the rules, stakes, and brutality remain unchanged. Without Gi-Hun to introduce hesitation, compassion, or second thoughts, the remaining players operate in sharper focus. Mistakes are costlier, decisions faster, and alliances colder. The game becomes not only more dangerous but also more predictable in its cruelty. The human element that once leaked through the cracks disappears. Gi-Hun's awkward jokes, small acts of kindness, and subtle gestures of empathy vanish from the dynamic. Minor players no longer find reprieve in his presence. Survival is measured solely in timing, calculation, and the willingness to exploit opportunity without hesitation. Warmth, even minor, is replaced with cold efficiency. The dorms hum with unease rather than camaraderie. Every conversation is transactional. Every choice carries the threat of immediate consequence. Even outside the arena, nothing changes. Debts continue, legal threats persist, and lives remain constrained by circumstance. The difference is contained entirely within the game, where absence creates sharper edges. Every player feels the weight of the system more acutely because the one figure who might have softened it is gone. Survival demands faster reflexes, clearer thinking, and a willingness to act without regard for humanity. By the final moments, the loss is absolute. The players remaining navigate a system stripped of mercy, without guidance or warmth. Each step they take is measured against the cold calculus of risk and opportunity. Gi-Hun's absence does not just remove a victor, it changes the tone of the entire game. The arena itself becomes colder, harder, more mechanical. Mistakes are fatal, decisions are sharper. Survival is no longer a matter of courage, kindness, or strategy. It is an equation of efficiency and timing, one that tolerates no error. In this world, Gi-Hun's failure is immediate and complete. The human warmth he carried is gone. The alliances he helped form begin to dissolve. One man's loss does not stop it. It only sharpens it. Gi-Hun's fate, death, capture, or other outcomes, Gi-Hun loses. One misstep, one hesitation, and the consequences are immediate. Death is the simplest outcome. The gods act quickly and efficiently, removing the body without ceremony. The system does not notice tragedy. For the remaining players, the warning is clear. Failure is final, absolute, unavoidable. Capture is another plausible outcome. Gi-Hun survives the immediate moment of defeat but is restrained or isolated. He is removed from the arena, kept under observation, and controlled. In this scenario, he becomes a variable, a demonstration of the consequences of failure. His survival is not freedom. Every action is monitored, every movement scrutinized. He cannot intervene. The remaining players see the absence and understand. The system does not bend. Temporary survival is rare but conceivable. He may find himself hiding, trapped on the edges of the arena, forced to wait for an uncertain moment. Fear dominates every thought. Decisions are measured with exacting caution. One wrong move could end him. Survival in this state is not a triumph. It is conditional and precarious. Life is suspended under constant threat, a tense equilibrium with little room for error. For the organizers, Gi-Hun's fate is data. Death, capture, or temporary survival all fit into the system's calculations. The human element fades. Small gestures, awkward jokes, empathy, and concern all disappear. Remaining players act out of calculation, timing, and necessity. Every choice carries consequences. The dorms and games hum with tension, not camaraderie. The environment is sharper, more mechanical, more precise. Mistakes are costlier. Every move matters. Survival is no longer about morality, cleverness, or kindness. It is about timing and execution. Outside the arena, life continues unchanged. Debts remain. Legal pressures persist. Financial and social obligations are indifferent to one man's failure. Inside the game, however, the stakes grow higher, the environment harsher, and the rules unforgiving. Gi-Hun's fate, whether death, capture, or temporary survival, confirms the system's efficiency. Player 456's absence from the outside world. Gi-Hun never returns. The world outside the games continues with its usual rhythm, but he is no longer part of it. Bills pile up, rent remains unpaid, calls go unanswered. His daughter waits for a father who will not appear. Growing accustomed to the absence in the quiet, relentless way children learn loss without explanation. Every day stretches the distance between them a little further. Debt continues to press. Notices arrive, letters from collectors, reminders of obligations left unresolved. His disappearance does not pause these pressures. They accumulate like small, sharp stones in a pocket, unnoticed until the weight becomes impossible to ignore. There is no intervention, no relief, only the steady, impartial continuation of consequent friends and acquaintances notice gaps. A neighbor wonders why he does not show up. A colleague questions his absence. Small cracks appear in routines that once seemed reliable. Rumors circulate in fragments, disconnected and inconclusive. No one knows the full story. The game, its stakes, and its horrors remain invisible to them. To the outside world, he is simply gone. The absence ripples beyond his immediate circle. Other indebted players, potential candidates for the game, are affected indirectly. Hope that someone could survive, someone could win, begins to fade. If player 456 never returns, the example he might have set disappears. The possibility of beating the system, of reclaiming life after the game, becomes a faint, almost irrelevant thought. For those still trapped in desperation, the loss is instructive. Failure is total, and escape is uncertain. Communities feel the void in quieter ways. Shops lose a regular customer. Workplaces adjust to missing labor. Friends adjust social expectations. These are not dramatic collapses but small shifts that accumulate. Every absence has a cost, even when it is invisible. The system outside the arena absorbs his disappearance with the same indifferent efficiency as the game. Itself, the narrative of hope dies slowly. Gi-Hun's survival or victory would have represented more than money. It would have been proof that escape is possible, that the game's machine can be beaten. Without him there is only continuity. The debts, the struggles, the daily grind that drove him to the game remain. Life outside does not stop because one man fails. Life adjusts, shifts, and moves forward, indifferent to individual collapse. Time passes, and the empty chair is a reminder, not of heroism, not of tragedy, but of absence. The consequences of failure reach further than the arena walls. Family and friends endure hardship, small and persistent. Financial obligations continue to mount. Hopes dissolve quietly, and the machine inside the games, as always, operates without pause. Gi-Hun's story does not return. He is a ghost in his own life. The world goes on, heavier for the people who remain, sharper for those who watch, and unchanged in its systems of debt, expectation, and survival. His absence confirms one truth. Failure does not pause life. It only reshapes it. Altered outcomes for key characters. When Gi-Hun fails, the arena shifts quietly but profoundly. His absence does not create chaos, but it changes the rhythm of every choice, every alliance, and every calculation. Players who once relied on him, consciously or not, now face the game stripped of a stabilizing presence. The dynamics inside the dorm, the strategies in the field, and the small human gestures that punctuated moments of tension are all altered. Sababayok moves differently now. Without Gi-Hun's awkward reassurance or minor acts of intervention, she relies solely on her instincts and cautious judgment. Every interaction carries more weight. Alliances form, break, and reform with sharper precision. Her path to survival becomes narrower, a tighter corridor where one miscalculation could be fatal. She cannot risk distraction or misplaced trust. Moments that once contained small reliefs, a shared joke, a supportive gesture, and an act of cooperation, disappear. Her human interactions are replaced by calculation, observation, and restraint. Her strategy is also affected. Where she might have tolerated temporary alliances or relied on minor players to survive until the final rounds, she now must move quickly, decisively, and alone. The absence of a figure like Gi-Hun, someone willing to mediate tension, diffuse immediate threats, or offer small openings of opportunity, removes subtle safety nets. Each decision now carries the cold arithmetic of risk. Who is most dangerous? Who can be manipulated? What moves guaranteed survival? And what choices invite death? Her path becomes not only narrower but more predictable in its ruthlessness. Cho Sang-woo experiences the consequences differently but just as sharply. Without Gi-Hun as a foil, as someone who reminds him of moral limits, the edge of his strategy becomes steeper. He has less to measure himself against, fewer reminders of empathy, fewer chances for small acts of human connection. His own decisions, once shaded by guilt, hesitation, or fleeting morality, are amplified. Without Gi-Hun to distract, support, or intervene, Sang-woo's tactical brilliance can spiral into overconfidence, miscalculations, or even deeper moral collapse. There is no moderating presence. Every choice he makes carries the amplified weight of consequences, both in strategy and in survival. Ali Abdul, who relied on Gi-Hun for protection and occasional guidance, now faces a sharper landscape. Trust is riskier. Alliances cannot be built on human warmth or kindness, only on necessity, calculation, and potential survival. His decisions become more measured, more hesitant, and yet more critical. He must navigate a world where one misstep is final. Every move is scrutinized, every interaction evaluated for survival potential rather than social decency. The absence of player 456 forces him to consider each action with unprecedented caution, redefining his odds of surviving the final games. Minor players feel the impact too. The dorms hum differently without Gi-Hun's presence. The small, humanizing moments, the jokes, the small acts of care, the unspoken solidarity, disappear. Trust becomes transactional. Hesitation is dangerous. Alliances form and dissolve rapidly, measured against immediate risk and opportunity. Human error is magnified. The patterns of interaction, the rhythm of survival, all shift toward efficiency and calculation. One missing presence reshapes the balance of the entire roster. The final rounds become an arena of pure calculation. Each player navigates not only the explicit rules of the games but also the social calculus of the group without a central, stabilizing figure. Without Gi-Hun to intervene, minor mistakes are costlier. Small opportunities are exploited more aggressively. Rivalries are sharper. Alliances shorter-lived. Even the narrative of the game changes. The story that might have been, of collaboration, hesitant trust, and fragile victories, is erased. Without Gi-Hun, the remaining players' arcs bend toward efficiency and brutality. Sabayok's cautious brilliance is sharpened by isolation. Sang-woo's potential for redemption diminishes, or at least becomes harder to realize. Ali's path to survival requires greater calculation, greater vigilance, and less reliance on trust. Minor players must navigate a system that is now more mechanical, more predictable, and more unforgiving. The Squid Game organization's reaction, Gi-Hun's loss, does not halt the arena. The organizers notice, but only in terms of variables. One missing outcome is not a failure. It is data. The system adapts. The cameras record, the monitors track, and the staff adjust with quiet efficiency. Sequences are recalibrated, schedules subtly rewritten. The rules do not change, but the environment shifts. Every action is measured, every consequence accounted for. The VIPs observe with curiosity, not panic. Their entertainment depends on unpredictability, but within controlled limits. Gi-Hun's absence removes the anticipated arc, the narrative of a familiar figure surviving against odds. To maintain engagement, organizers may subtly increase tension, amplifying challenges or accelerating sequences to preserve spectacle. The games become sharper, more immediate, less forgiving. Every moment is recalculated to ensure that the desired blend of risk and observation remains. Staff respond in parallel. Guards and administrators adjust patrols, monitor interactions more closely, and enforce rules without hesitation. Minor deviations by players, hesitation, alliance building, and small acts of empathy are no longer tolerated. The absence of player 456, someone who subtly influenced others' behavior, removes variables the organizers once counted on. Now every interaction must be observed with greater precision. The brutality of the games escalates quietly. Challenges that once allowed room for missteps now have reduced margins. Psychological pressure increases. Players are pushed harder, tested further. The organizers do not act out of vengeance. They act to maintain control. Predictability is dangerous. A missing winner is not acceptable because it disrupts the narrative flow the VIPs expect. Adjustments are measured, efficient, and invisible. To the players, the difference is felt only in the sharper consequences. The narrower windows of opportunity. Every decision carries operational weight. The failure of a presumed winner forces the system to compensate. Recruitment, monitoring, and control mechanisms are subtly tightened. Contingency plans, long dormant, are activated. Rules are enforced more strictly. Player movements are scrutinized. The arena functions like a machine with one fewer stabilizing factor, and the human operators work to replace that stability with process. Every aspect of the Squid Game is designed to endure unpredictability. One player's failure does not break it, it sharpens it. The organizer's response is methodical, invisible, and relentless. The game adapts, becoming colder, more precise, and more unyielding. Players are pushed further. Staff operate with quiet discipline. VIPs watch, entertained by the sharpened stakes. The arena continues, unchanged in principle but sharper in execution. One missing winner does not threaten the system. It confirms its resilience. Moral and ethical implications. When Gi-Hun loses, the story loses its moral anchor. There is no hero to challenge the system or guide others. Players act purely out of necessity. Alliances are transactional. Survival is dictated by timing, risk, and calculation, not virtue. Luck dominates. Every slip, hesitation, or misjudgment carries immediate consequences. Skill matters, but it is not enough. The system is impartial. Without Gi-Hun's presence to temper chance with instinct, outcomes are sharper, harsher, and unpredictable. The games function exactly as designed, a reflection of desperation under scarcity. Morality becomes a liability. Acts of empathy, restraint, or trust carry cost. Players navigate a world where ethical behavior can shorten life. Without a moral anchor, human choices are compressed into strategy. Small gestures are measured for survival, not decency. The system rewards calculation, not kindness. The critique of capitalism becomes clearer. Debt and economic pressure remain constant. Success is concentrated, and failure is visible, permanent. Without Gi-Hun to succeed against odds, the narrative exposes the cruelty of the system. Human behavior is shaped by survival, not ethics or courage. Psychologically, players are unmoored. Every action is evaluated for risk. There is no redemption, no guide to interpret chaos. Decisions are sharp and immediate. Hesitation is dangerous. Trust is conditional. Survival demands clarity, not morality. The ethical framework collapses. Virtue or skill does not guarantee reward. Human cost is immediate. Gi-Hun's failure reframes the game. Survival is contingent, luck is arbitrary, and morality is optional. The system adapts. It endures. One man's loss sharpens the lens on desperation, behavior, and consequence. Societal commentary, debt, class, and consequence. Gi-Hun's loss does not soften the social critique. It exposes it clearly. Debt, poverty, and desperation dominate the arena. Players are trapped by circumstance, and failure has immediate consequences. There is no reward, no chance of escape. Only survival or death remains. Class disparities are evident. The wealthy remain untouched. Observing, the poor are expendable. Mistakes are costly. Advantage comes from skill, calculation, or luck. The arena does not forgive weakness. Without Gi-Hun, no figure mitigates tension or humanizes the system. Vulnerable participants are entirely reactive. Debt drives behavior. Every player must navigate scarcity with limited options. Choices are tactical. Ethics is secondary. Without player 456, small acts of trust, hesitation, or empathy are liabilities. The arena operates as a precise system, responding to desperation and calculation, not morality. The absence of a hero removes the narrative buffer. In the original series, survival and moral reflection balanced systemic critique. Now, the system operates without compromise. Consequences are permanent. Missteps are fatal. The games reflect total control, systemic inequality, and the exploitation of vulnerability. The social critique becomes direct. Inequality is enforced. Opportunity is scarce. Desperation is exploited. The games show structural power in action. Without Gi-Hun, the narrative ends without hope or moral victory. The consequences of poverty, debt, and social hierarchy are immediate and inescapable. The story demonstrates how systems designed to exploit weakness function with precision. Potential for a sequel or spin-off. Gi-Hun's loss opens space for new narratives. The spotlight moves to other survivors, whose decisions now define the story. Seabayok, Sang-woo, and Ollie carry the consequences of the final game. Their strategies, alliances, and moral choices become central. Without player 456 as a stabilizing figure, minor players gain prominence, and previously overlooked interactions gain significance. Future games take on a different tone. Organizers may tweak rules to test new dynamics. The absence of a known hero increases unpredictability, forcing participants to navigate the arena without reference points. Survivors must adapt to sharper stakes. The system continues to function efficiently, but human error, desperation, and calculation become the dominant forces driving narrative tension. VIP perspectives could provide a parallel storyline. Their entertainment depends on risk, cruelty, and spectacle. Observing new participants, they adjust their expectations, wages, and satisfaction. A sequel could explore the economics of the games, the motivations of those who fund them, and the structural adjustments made after Gi-Hun's unexpected loss. This angle emphasizes the systemic nature of the arena rather than individual heroism. Alternative character arcs emerge. Without a central hero to dominate attention, redemption, betrayal, and survival can be explored in greater depth for multiple players. Sabayok's tactical brilliance, Sang-woo's moral calculations, and Ollie's cautious navigation gain weight. The absence of player 456 forces the story to highlight complexity, unpredictability, and the consequences of human behavior under extreme pressure. Gi-Hun's absence allows a sequel or spin-off to explore the game as an institution rather than a personal journey. The story becomes less about overcoming odds and more about survival, adaptation, and strategy. It emphasizes systemic cruelty, social critique, and the unpredictability of human interaction. New conflicts, new alliances, and new survivors become the central narrative. The arena remains the constant, but the human stories shift, showing that the game continues regardless of any single player's presence. Fan and cultural reactions. world where Gi-Hun loses would immediately divide audiences. The loss of a central hero eliminates the sense of narrative closure. Viewers would react with frustration, disbelief, or moral reflection. Discussions would focus on the cruelty of the system, the role of luck versus skill, and the ethical implications of survival. Fans would debate whether the ending is nihilistic or realistic, questioning the fairness of the arena and the morality of its design. Emotional reactions would range widely. Some might feel anger at the absence of triumph, others relief at the story's honesty. Gi-Hun's failure forces audiences to confront the arbitrary nature of life and death, mirroring the show's critique of economic disparity and desperation. Conversations would center on how morality intersects with survival when no hero exists to guide choices or provide hope. The tragic hero or no hero ending would become a major talking point. Cultural commentary would emphasize the consequences of systemic failure rather than individual victory. Analysts might examine how human behavior is shaped by desperation, how alliances form under pressure, and how society observes the suffering of the powerless. Gi-Hun's loss reframes the narrative from personal triumph to collective struggle, forcing viewers to engage with the mechanics of inequality rather than the story of a single player. Fan theories would proliferate. Speculation about what Gi-Hun could have done differently, alternative endings, and hidden opportunities would dominate online discussions. The absence of a hero allows new interpretations: who might have survived, who might have emerged as a moral center, and how the arena could evolve in future iterations. Social media would focus on missed opportunities, structural critique, and the psychological realism of the outcome. The cultural impact would extend beyond the narrative. The show would be remembered not for a single victory but for its relentless depiction of desperation, chance, and human calculation. Discussions about capitalism, inequality, and systemic oppression would intensify. Fan engagement would shift toward analysis, critique, and hypothetical scenarios rather than celebrating triumph. The legacy of the series would be darker, more analytical, and more focused on societal commentary than on personal heroism. Gi-Hun's absence changes not just the story, but how the story is received. The audience is forced to wrestle with the system itself. Debate, theory, and reflection replace celebration. The show's power lies in its unflinching look at human behavior under pressure, and without a hero, that power becomes sharper, more uncomfortable, and more enduring. Gi-Hun never won. His absence didn't slow the game, not even for a second. The arena kept shifting, players kept falling, and someone else carried the weight of survival. That's the cruel design of Squid Game. One loss simply feeds another choice, another death, another chance at betrayal. Without Gi-Hun's unlikely humanity, the story turns colder, sharper, and far more unforgiving. So here's the question. What would you have done in his place? Step forward, risk everything, and trust the people beside you, or retreat, survive quietly, and let others pay the price? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe. Because in this game, no one truly walks away.